Nowadays, we usually take weather forecasts for granted, but many groundbreaking discoveries had to be made throughout history in order to get to this point where we can accurately predict the future. Over 2,000 years ago, scientists such as the famous Greek philosopher Aristotle became interested in learning more about the weather. Around 340 BC, he wrote Meteorologica, which included theories about the formation of rain, hail, clouds, wind, thunder, lightning, and hurricanes. Even though many of his claims were erroneous, his 4-volume text was considered by many to be the authority on weather theories, and predictions were even tried to be made. Weather instruments such as the hygrometer, thermometer, and barometer were all invented between 1450 and 1650 so that scientists could measure the properties of the atmosphere. People around the world began to record atmospheric measurements, but unfortunately nothing much could be done with this raw data since it could not be aggregated from the individual locations to see what was happening on a broader scale. The invention of the telegraph in the 1840s not only revolutionized the way people communicate over long distances, but also had a massive impact on the way people could now transmit weather information. The Smithsonian Institution supplied weather instruments to telegraph companies and established an extensive observation network of over 150 volunteers regularly reporting weather observations back to the Smithsonian. With these observations coming from all over the U.S., crude weather maps could now be drawn, surface wind patterns were able to be identified, and storm systems could be studied. Collecting all of the weather observations all over the country required substantial structure and organization, leading to the formation of the United States Weather Bureau in 1870 under President Ulysses S. Grant. The Weather Bureau was vital in the expansion of communicating weather information to the public, as they became the ones who issued weather forecasts and warnings for years to come. However, in 1870, atmospheric prediction was just getting off the ground, and forecasts were vaguely worded, typically covering a large area of the country and only for a 24-hour period. In 1901, an important scientist in the Weather Bureau, Cleveland Abbe, proposed that the motion of the atmosphere is defined by the principles and complex equations that apply to liquids and gases, known as fluid dynamics. By solving these mathematical equations, numerical weather forecasting was born in 1904 by Wilhelm Jerknes and Louis Fry Richardson, but many refinements would need to be made to it before it could be deemed as accurate. For instance, it took Richardson at least 6 weeks working by hand with these new equations to produce a widely inaccurate forecast for a single location over a 6-hour period. Richardson concluded that in order to produce weather forecasts while also keeping up with the weather, it would require about 64,000 human computers continuously solving the complex equations by hand in a forecast factory. Richardson expressed his hope that perhaps someday in the dim future it will be possible to advance the computations faster than the weather advances and at a cost less than the saving to mankind due to the information gained. But that is a dream. Fortunately, Richardson's dream came true in the 1940s and 50s when a technological breakthrough occurred and the first electric computer was released, revolutionizing the way that meteorologists predicted the weather for good. We'll discuss this part of weather forecasting history on next week's Morse Code of Weather.